England Take. I'm your host, AJ Kirsten. NewEnglandTake.com to get more from the show. Big thank you to Concord TV and theGraniteGrock.com for each picking up the program every week. And WKXL, Concord, Manchester, and that is 1450 AM, 103.9 FM Concord, and 101.9 FM Manchester for picking up the program every week. Saturday is 8:30 a.m. NHTalkRadio.com. I'm doing a weekly New England news roundup at NewEnglandTake.com, as well as airing every hour over at WKXL. If you're interested in sponsoring that, getting a fair bit of airtime, it's email AJ at NewEnglandTake.com. And AJ at NewEnglandTake.com if you'd like to reach out to the show, tell me what I got wrong, what I got right. There's many opinions in this week's episode, so before we get to talking about the situation with Iran and Andru Volinsky doing something, I don't know what his endgame is, but he's doing something. I want to give a thank you to Porcupine Coffee Roasting for partnering with this week's episode. This week I have the El Salvador blend. It is a light roast, but it works fantastic just like a dark roast. Any take for 15% off your order at porcupinecoffeeroasting.com. It's a private membership organization, and you can go over there and every month get a unique blend of coffee. Big thank you to Amber for supporting the show, porcupinecoffeeroasting.com. All right, so this is a very unique situation. A good part of this episode has to be talking about the Iran situation. This is not the place to be if you want to hear, these are the stats, these are the injuries, these are the methods of war utilized. This is the exacts of what's happening in DC. I think there's enough here to analyze just from a strategic perspective whether we're doing the right thing or not, because it's a lot more complex than I think a lot of people are making it out to be. Unfortunately, it'd be so much easier if this was a Ukraine situation where, hey, Russia invaded and is trying to take the territory of Ukraine. There's an end game here. Us doing things to stop that from happening at the onset made a lot of sense. It's dragged on for way too long. It's become that sort of complex situation now over there. But Iran is unique. It is unique for many reasons. This is not a... People are just saying this, they're forgetting history. Once again, as we always talk about the Israel situation, history is constantly forgotten by many people giving analysis of the situation. And Iran is a messy situation. For starters, we shouldn't forget the whole Ayatollah situation, that's us. The United States is partly responsible for that. We helped depose the old government and put the Ayatollah in place back in the 70s, 80s, whatever it was. Sorry, I don't have the exact time frame, but we're the reason why he got there. All sorts of the meme of the weapons. There's a meme from the Umbrella Academy where it's two of the characters driving past each other and looking at each other like, wait a second. That's the situation when it comes to so many of the weapons of this conflict, because, hey, guess what? They're old weapons that we gave Iran back in the day, and they're now using to defend themselves against us. It's where another meme is, guess what? Here's the money we're spending for defense being shot against, that's also our money being shot as the offense. It's this whole situation of the U.S. has their fingers involved in everything when it comes to foreign conflict, and it's not always great. I have always said by default, I'm an isolationist. I think free trade is by far the best way to get people to side with you. It's the way to kind of push countries to go in the right direction, is offering them trade in one way or another, not globalism. There should be a strategic mechanism behind it that is for safety, but still ensuring that the United States can make it without this, whether it's diversification or internal manufacturing and things of that nature. It's something we've tremendously failed at over the last 100 years, is offshoring so much of our manufacturing and intellectual property and things of that nature to either multinational corporations or other countries, for example, China, obviously, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the Iran situation. The economic and diplomatic mechanisms are by far my favorite way that we should be addressing foreign conflicts. But when it comes to the Iran situation, this isn't country that has been funding the global war on terror post 9/11. They have had their fingers in everything this whole time. Yeah, the Saudis were involved in 9/11, certain aspects of the Saudi government and things of that nature, but the Death to America chants, and you look that we've seen online and things of that nature since 9/11, so many of them are from Tehran. And when you look further back, I feel like, once again, history is forgotten. It was Iranian terrorists that were hijacking airplanes back in the 90s and 80s. This has been ongoing for decades, and we seem to just forget, and just there's so much blame. It's been really painful to watch Breaking Points, which is a podcast I listen to regularly, Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty, Ryan Grimm and Emily Jashinsky. I haven't really heard too much analysis from her on the show, but everyone else and the guests that they're having on the show, like Professor Jeffrey Sachs, just the most unhinged responses to the situation. A lot of entirely blaming the whole situation on Israel. We cannot say Israel has no play in this. They have a tremendous amount of play in this situation, and whether it's the blame that we're actually doing this, or if it's the who pressured who to make this actually happen, going back to the bombing of the nuclear sites months ago, things of that nature, the impact of Iran. This is what Israel wants. They want Iran taken out of the picture. But hey, guess what? Americans, we should also want Iran taken out of the picture too, because they're problematic. They're the ones funding funding Hamas and Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, things of that nature. What Somalia has been up to the last several years. It's all funded by Iranian terrorist networks. They are not an honest actor in any of this. And there's so many instances of late where it's people kind of giving this like super naive analysis at the motives behind Iran and what they're up to. And Iran is a bad actor. The Ayatollah has been preaching death to America this whole time, and not just saying words, like honestly putting his money where his mouth is. And instead of, after this bombing, which I don't say we should have done this. I don't think we should have done this at all. It's totally the wrong thing we should have done. I'm not saying Obama was doing the right thing either in his trying to buddy up with them, which is important to consider, that every time there's been a Democrat in office in the last 20 years, they've been pushing for better relations with Iran. Did it result in anything productive? No. I'll hear these little baby steps may have been accomplished, but just enough to make sure we continue the agreement and not really acting in good faith. I honestly don't know if they have nuclear weapons or not. I don't really care. I always hear this nonsense from Ben Shapiro saying that, why would they be investing in nuclear energy? Well, because if they entirely rely on oil, they're going to have a Venezuela situation, which is really bad too. So, am I crying for the Ayatollah and the leadership of the Iranian government that have been taken out, who are blatant enemies of America and the West? No. Now that it's done, and we're in a situation where we get to just pluck the fruits of the labor of Trump and Hegseth and all that. Hey, we got a chance here to actually make this part of the world not be as chaotic as it has been for so long. This is an opportunity for us to have positive change in the Middle East in a way that could be productive. Am I utterly devastated seeing the terrors that we in Palestine? Yeah, we should still be disgusted at everything that's happened there, but if we can remove the terrorist impact from the region, it'll be tremendous. And we can go back to good old-fashioned economic terrorism from the Saudis and such. So it's not funny. It's really funny. It's like we want to resolve it so that we only have to deal with some corrupt princes and stuff in Qatar and the UAE and all that, because these are all sketchy countries. They're Islamic fundamentalist nations and to varying extents, but they're a lot more about the money. That's what it's going to come down to. Like, they want the money. And if they have an opportunity to trade extensively with the United States, no longer deal with Iran as a troublemaker, making them look really bad economically. It'll be huge. Something that you got to look at the world stage. We keep seeing this. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. It's all sorts of people whinging on about the neighboring countries being attacked by Iranian bombings and things of that nature. This is nothing. This could have, if this was a larger country that was honestly a threat, it would not be these little miscellaneous little excursions. And yeah, there's been some death. It sucks. It's war. We need to not forget that soldiers are sent to war to make war. There will be soldiers that die, and it's tragic and devastating. We need to remember the soldiers, but they signed up to be there. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of the situation. I mean, I don't believe we're having National Guard being sent out thus far, though they're being put on standby in some situations I've heard rumors about. We have a chance here to stabilize the Middle East in a way that we were lied about during the Iraq War during George W. Bush. This is the problematic player. This is the player we should have taken out instead of Iraq. It should have been Iran. It should have been this nation that is the most fundamentalist Islamic nation in the region when it comes to jihad. I keep hearing this, well, we're going to trigger jihad, we're going to trigger this or that by having this happen. If there was an immediate chance that there were sleeper cells that could cause serious damage, I believe personally that would have already happened. This would have already been the case. We would be seeing suicide bombs in New York City already. Let's say there won't be terrorism still happening, but there hasn't been any of that. And when you look at what Europe's been experiencing over the last 30 years, they've been having bombings and such constantly. This has been a nonstop issue. There's been multiple bombings in Paris and London, things of that nature. The United States is protected by an ocean. Thank God. It's been really great to have that separation, but Europe's been dealing with Islamic terrorism this whole time. It didn't go away. And if they're we'll to see in the long run, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that terrorism starts going away because they don't have the Ayatollah telling them what to do. They don't have that funding mechanism that currently exists in the Ayatollah in the Iranian regime. I mean, I could be totally off base, but this is huge. And when you look at who has sided with Iran at the global stage with all this, I'd say it is Democratic leftists, and that's it. Almost, there's been some people say, I'm not happy that this war has happened. Fine. Yeah, you can not be happy about it. I'm not happy it happened. Am I going to enjoy the fruits of it? Yeah, it is what it is. You got to be pragmatic to a certain situation. It's been primarily Democrats out there and some libertarian types, that various ideologies on that side. But it has not been on the world stage nations as a nation. Like, there's been groups of people and things like that. Iran only had China and Russia really to buddy up with them in the past. And hey, guess what? How many interactions have we had with Chinese or Russian soldiers in this? Zip. There's been none. And that's important. Because, hey, there is a serious risk. This could have been really, really bad because China and Russia could have turned this into World War III immediately. They had the chance. Iran's oil reserves are key for them. They rely on it. And the fact that they are now going to be losing that and the ability to destabilize through terrorism that they can funnel money to Iran for being gone, and they still haven't reacted in any aggressive way from military perspective, that's huge. Iran's all on their own. Ryan Macbeth's been doing amazing coverage of the military situation, talking a lot about that. Cappy Army is another YouTube channel I highly suggest you check out if you geek out on military action and the way moving people goes and various weaponry and things of that nature. There's been no friends. We've taken out the Iranian Navy in just a couple days. There's no Iranian Navy anymore. There's no Ayatollah. They have a president for now. I don't know where he is. I haven't heard much personally when it comes from him. Ahmadinejad, who's the previous president, is dead. This is the thing with Iran, there's a possible future. They have an election system, whether it's totally corrupt or not, I don't honestly know one way or another, but they have the mechanisms in place through a legislative body and a president and a court system. We kind of killed the chief justice in the court in this, but it's kind of the nature of governments kind of taken over by Islamic fundamentalism. They get in all over the place, and that'll be a confusing thing going forward, is figuring out whether the new people, hopefully they get elected and put into place, whether they are honestly going to be playing ball or not, or if they're just harboring more disruption in their heart that they want to spill out onto the world stage. This is going to be messy. But the fact that no one from a nationwide perspective is backing Iran, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, China, Russia, Europe, they've all been whinging on but that we shouldn't have done it. But hey, guess what? It's done. Let's capitalize. We're gonna make the best of this situation from a very pragmatic standpoint, because it is vital that Iran is no longer a problem. Because guess what? This is something that I think I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the Trump administration on this, and many other people have not been. I think this is strategic. I think there's a level of strategy behind this. I don't think it's even 4D chess. It's just 2D chess. This is super basic chess, where Iran is a tremendous oil reserve for China and Russia and the nations that are siding with them. And hey, guess what? Who else was? Venezuela. We've taken those two countries out, so they are no longer in the game. There's some rumors of Cuba. I really hope we're not going to invade Cuba in 2026. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But this is big strategically on the global stage. We are going to be at war with China one way or another in the next 10 years. I'd be utterly shocked. There's so many military analysts out there have been saying that for a long time. We will be at war with China. How does that look, and are we going to be in the best footing to make that happen? We're setting great groundwork for that. It's unfortunate. I don't want us to have to be putting the groundwork for it, but with Iran and Venezuela taking off the map for them, with us now not having to station ships here within the next 6 to 12 months, we should hopefully be able to withdraw our navy from the Mediterranean, because we won't be dealing with the Palestinian situation, the Iranian situation. Israel, as long as they stop and they realize that they've essentially won for now, and they stop, we're going to be in good shape, and we're going to be able to move our military to deal with Russia and China. The whole idea of buying Greenland was for this region. There is a strategic mechanism behind this. With the ice caps receding, there is now an open waterway in the North Atlantic that wasn't there previously. We need to be strategic in being able to stop bad forces from being problems for us. We need to protect Thailand from the silicon production. They're the only nation in the world that produces the silicon to the extent that they currently do. And we need to protect them really, really strongly. We need to be prepared to stop China and Russia from what they have going forward. Do I love the fact that we got to focus on this? Hell no. Like I said at the onset, I'm an isolationist libertarian. I do not want us having to use guns to get where we're going to go. But we need to be ready, because this is where it's going. Ryan Macbeth has been doing a lot of work on that. Like I've been saying, in all these recent military situations, Ryan's got a lot of great information over on his YouTube channel. Definitely check him out. He's been on the news around all over the world with everything that's going on with all this. We need to make sure that China and Russia don't screw us over going forward. And as long as Israel, look, my plea for Israel, you've got what you got. You've wiped Palestine off the face of the earth, essentially. Just deal with your little territory right there. There's been a lot of, especially from the extreme Zionists, saying, going back to the river to the sea thing, which is a lot more territory than we've talked about previously. It talks about about Jordan and Syria and things like that, because technically in the language of the way they read the Bible, that should all be part of Israel. And I don't trust Netanyahu as far as I can throw him. Don't take me as anyone who who believes anything Netanyahu has to sell anybody. He is a very sketchy individual, and if he just cuts his losses here, I think he's going to be able to survive it and not be in jail. But this whole situation with Iran is messy. There's no way around it. We need to at least hope that our leaders will be productive going forward and capitalize on the wins that they've managed to have and not get greedy and take it further. My plea to our military. All right. Andru Volinsky, for the record, I've invited on the show a couple different ways, and he's never responded to me. It could be he hasn't seen it. I don't have the best way to get a hold of him. But Andru Volinsky on March 3rd, I'm recording this on March 4th, held a press conference at the steps of the State House, proceeding to, so NH Journal did great reporting on this. I'll put it in the episode description. So did the New Hampshire Bulletin, if you want another outlet for that comes from different partisan perspective that is worth checking out. But Andru Volinsky, former candidate for governor who didn't even make it to the final ticket, is trying to get a state income tax to pay for education. He somehow thinks this will be successful, and funny news about that, even the Democrats in office are going like, no, we're not going to do this. This isn't going to happen. It's Deputy House Democratic Leader Rep. Laura Tversky even said that there's very little her and Jason Osborne agree on, but the one thing they definitely agree on is we're not going to have an income tax in this state, especially to fund education. And I don't understand why he thinks this is going to be successful. He's got a bunch of people backing him, but I know some people that were at the press conference for it, and they were just scratching their heads going, why are you doing this? Like, this is not going to go anywhere. I understand that there's a lot of leftists in the state that want a broad-based tax to pay for education. They say we should take the burden off of the local jurisdictions. And the way they want to do it is entirely funded at the state level. It's an interesting, it's a bold move, Cotton. Especially when you consider Republicans control the executive and legislative and judicial branch here in the state. So say they did somehow, through a miracle that I could never imagine, get it to happen. Who you want these people to control the money that are going to the schools? You want the Republicans to be controlling every dime that goes to the schools? You think that's going to play out well? You want it officially to go down to that, what was that, $5,600 or $6,500 a year per student? Is that what you want it chopped down to? I don't understand the strategy behind this. It makes no sense strategically. I'll go over to New Hampshire Bulletin because they get the Journal was great for giving the dialogue that's been happening around it. The Bulletin got a little more straight to the point here. A proposal to address high property taxes by introducing a statewide income tax and property tax roiled Concord Tuesday, prompting denunciations by both Republican and Democratic political leaders. But proponents are asking the public to give the idea a chance. The idea, titled the 3-3 Tax Savings Plan, will institute a 3% income tax for all residents and a $3 tax per $1,000 of equalized property value for homeowners. Ross Connolly had a great point on this. This was the idea that was brought up, I believe it was from Massachusetts, to fund their education. You notice that whatever that initial rate continued to rise, that percentage, it is, if we give the state or federal government an option to tax, that tax is never going away. That tax is going to be there till the apocalypse happens and the earth is melted into the sun. And at that point, when everyone's dead, we can officially say there's no the income tax is gone. There's never been a chance for really. New Hampshire is very unique. We got rid of a bunch of taxes, and we officially have no income tax, even on investments here in the state. it's only because we have a Republican majority across the board here at the state level. This is never gonna stay at the 3.3. Like the $3 tax per $1,000 will be $5 before you know it, because this doesn't resolve the issue. And Arnie Arnesen, another former Democrat candidate for governor, who's a far-raging leftist. I follow her on Facebook because it's just priceless, and I try not to make myself angry looking at it. She's wholly on board with Volinsky. Whatever Volinsky says, Arnie Arnesen's, she's on board. She loves it bad. And it doesn't make sense because it doesn't fix the issue. It does not fix the issue that the cost of education per child has gone through the roof. And I got this info sheet here. Per pupil spending has nearly doubled. Adjusted for inflation, average spending per district public school student nearly doubled from 2001 to 2024, a 96% increase in real terms, moving from $8,265 per student in 2001 to $26,347 per student in 2024. This is inflation adjusted. We don't have an issue of money going to the schools. We have an issue where we don't know where the hell the money's going when it gets there and doesn't make sense. Does it come down to overregulation? I'd say definitely so. I think we need to get rid of a hell of a lot of school administrators. I love the idea that's been proposed. Senator Murphy and some others have been proposing to bring the SAUs to no longer be just whatever the local SAU decides it wants to be, but bring it to the county level, which from a citizenship perspective is a great idea, because it means people maybe start paying attention a little bit to what the hell the county's going to for, because right now it comes down to they have to have a nursing home, a prison, and a sheriff's office, and a couple other things like that. People don't really care about the county. If the school district goes to the county, it's going to make people care about that. It's also going to enable a larger pool of people to care and have time to deal with the SAU. Because if the SAU is only within a certain town's boundaries, your reliance on that population having the time, energy, or desire to deal with their school board and the schools itself. And when you only have a few thousand people in a town, that pool of people is going to be extremely small. It's going to democratize, ultimately, the nature of how schools are handled in the state if it goes to the county level when you look at it from an economic perspective. It's going to really open up so a lot more people are going to have that chance to hear what's going on and have a say and impact on it. Because right now, I'm in Concord, it's just Democrats. It's all Democrats all the way through. There's some center-left people in the mix, but I have no real say. But if we start joining other towns in my area, maybe there'll be a little more of either a center-right person maybe that we'd be able to vote in place and have a say to make sure we're doing things that we honestly feel as parents is best for our kids. Because this is what it comes down to. Teachers in New Hampshire are one of the most well-paid teachers in the country when you look at it. They make decent money, especially considering you're working 10 months out of the year and you have the summer off. That's pretty good. They get pretty good benefits for the most part. They're not making bank. You don't make bank in public service. That is not the name of the game. If you're gonna go work for a school, that's not the place to make money. Go get a gig at a college or a private school or something of that nature. If you honestly want to get into education to make some money, that's how you do it. You don't go into public school education. That's the reality of public service. If you work in state government or the federal government for the most part and you're not like an extremely high leadership position, you're not making as much money as you in the private sector. That's kind of how this game works. So Andru Volinsky, he's totally lost the plot here. There's been a lot of nonsense from the LPNH X account. No one should be taking them seriously, and no Republican should be paying attention to whatever Democrats call out as, you need to denounce the LPNH. No, we're all done denouncing the LPNH. We've all made our point. Libertarians are their thing. Let them do their thing. But Andrew, best of luck to you. I don't know what you're doing. All right, NewEnglandTake.com. Big thank you for checking out the show. AJ at NewEnglandTake.com if you want to reach out to me. I'm always looking for emails, inputs, guests, anything like that. Please hit me up. Big thank you to WKXL for picking up the show. Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. Next up over there is Facing the Future. GraniteGrock.com. Great outlet. Go check out what they're up to, and Concord TV. We'll talk to you soon.